A systemic failure from the top down.
You don't want none! You don't want none!
What's going on, Tar Heel Nation? It is your favorite North Carolinian, Ross, the Tar Heel. And in this huddle, man, we're going to break down the Georgia Tech and North Carolina game that happened yesterday. Obviously, I wanted to wait a little bit so that we could pay our respects to the unfortunate and untimely passing of North Carolina wide receiver Tylee Craft. And I just thought that it was better that we would wait until the next day before we start breaking down this football game actually. But for the duration of the football season, all football videos that come out of the Tar Heel Huddle, we're going to honor and remember Tylee Craft with his symbol somewhere on the video. And we're going to remember him for the Tar Heel that he truly was. So before we actually break this thing down, just want to have a quick moment of silence. And may you rest in peace, young man. So getting into this football game, man, UNC moves to 3-4, 0-3 in the conference after Georgia Tech walks it off with a 68-yard run with 16 seconds left. And the last 1 minute of this football game was the perfect microcosm of the UNC 2024 football campaign. But before I actually break that down, man, I want to go over some stats real quick just so we can get that in here and we have an idea of how this game stinking went. Georgia Tech had 505 total yards compared to North Carolina's 417. Georgia Tech had 134 yards through the air. North Carolina had 216. Rushing yards, just crazy once again, at our house. And this is what they do. Georgia Tech had 371 yards rushing, good for 7.7 yards per carry. North Carolina had 201, good for 5.9 yards per carry. And then Georgia Tech won the turnover battle 2-0. Now, Haynes King finished 11 for 22, 127 yards. Didn't do much against us through the air. The issue was, and this is what a lot of us were worried about, he had 11 rushes for 107 yards, good for 9.7 yards per carry, and 2 stinking rushing touchdowns. Then Jamal Haynes, which has his breakout game because Georgia Tech has kind of struggled necessarily running the football as a team, 19 carries, 170 yards, 8.9 yards a carry, and 2 rushing touchdowns himself. Now, Jacoby Criswell finished 17 for 31, 209 yards, and a touchdown. Omarion Hampton only had 18 rushes, but he had 137 yards with no touchdowns. And then J.J. Jones led the team with 3 receptions for 64 yards and a tutty. And obviously, can't not mention the fact that, J.J. had a good game. He was wearing Tylee Craft's jersey with his name on the back, so that was real cool to see him show out, considering obviously the unfortunate news that we heard. Now, before I get into the breakdown of this game, I want to congratulate Georgia Tech for, winning the game. But the simple fact of the matter is this: North Carolina was in great position to actually walk out of this thing with a W. And that's what I want to talk about, man. Now, UNC was down 20-14 at the half. And where it really got interesting is that they battled back. I'm not going to dispute the fact that these kids stinking fought. They were down by 10. They cut it to a field goal lead. And then they had an opportunity to either tie or have the go-ahead score with under 2 minutes left. Now, 1 minute and 45 seconds. Carolina has the ball on the Georgia Tech 9-yard line. And this is where I want to talk about the microcosm of the season, because we have a bunch of things that were at play here. Poor clock management, poor play calling, players not stinking making plays on offense, and then later we'll see on defense. And so it is a complete systematic failure on all stinking levels. Let's break this thing down. You got 1 minute and 45 seconds left, and you're down by 3 in plus territory. You're inside the red zone. Let me tell you how this is supposed to work, okay? Your goal, knowing that you're going to get an easy field goal opportunity, is obviously to score a touchdown. But you want to score that touchdown with little to no time remaining. Now, this is what you do. when you have one timeout in your pocket and an All-American running back, you don't start that stinking series or that first down play with a clear-cut, no play action pass play. That's not what you do, okay? I don't even think, if I'm not mistaken, there wasn't even a play action concept to get the defense to bite up. Maybe I'm wrong right there. But regardless, I'm not throwing the football. I'm trying to get that stinking clock running. Now, somebody may say, well, Georgia Tech had timeouts. Make them burn them. Make them burn them. You're already going to at least be able to tie this football game up. It's almost a surety. And we're not playing to tie the game up. But you get the clock rolling so that you can burn as much time and timeouts on Georgia Tech's side as possible. Not only did Chip Lindsey or Mac Brown, whoever it was, probably Chip, decide to pass on first down and stop that clock, he decided to pass on second down and stop the clock, okay? Inexcusable, to say the least. So, third down, and let me say this too. Shout out to Jacoby Criswell, who made some stinking stellar winning quarterback plays on that last series. He picked up at least 2 first downs with his feet. I bet you he had over 30 yards rushing in that last series. And then he threw an absolute dime, a dot, to John Copenhaver in the end zone that went right off his stinking hands. And this is a guy that we would all think, was an above average tight end that's probably going to make that play 9 times out of 10. Now, Carolina would have gone up by 7. Or excuse me, they would have gone up by 4 if John makes that stinking play. What do they have to do? Well, with poor clock management, they stinking kick a field goal, and they give Georgia Tech 45 seconds to go down there and, win this football game. Once again, the clock management here is just, since day one, since Mac Brown came and he had Sam Howell take a knee on fourth down to give South Carolina another chance, the clock management and the play calling and decision making has been, I'm telling you right now, as far as that's concerned, you could find Pop Warner coaches coaching 9U teams that understand how to manage a clock better than this coaching staff has with Mac Brown at place. And that is not at all being facetious. Some of these discrepancies and decisions that are being made are just so clear-cut. It's just, a person who knows very little about football would be able to pick these things up. Why would you give them time left? Why would you not do everything that you can to milk this clock and give them minimal amount of time to go down there and win this football game? So, okay, Carolina's thinking, ties it up with a field goal. And I think everybody in that stadium, every Carolina fan knew this is not a good position for us to be in because, how much do you really trust this defense to make a stop? You don't. You don't. And it was a perfect, like I said, players not making plays. A run play up the middle with Jamal Haynes on the second play from scrimmage there. And he takes it 68 yards to the house to go up 7. It's unbelievable, man. It's unbelievable. You cannot make this stuff up. And we're talking about the middle. We're talking about the front 4 all being upperclassmen. We're talking about one of our linebackers being upperclassmen. And speaking of the linebackers, it's been, look, the linebacker play has been, very lukewarm, okay, this year. Very lukewarm. We missaid a ton. But I saw throughout this football game, okay, the middle of the defense being torched. And linebackers were constantly out of position. Whether or not they weren't picking up the football behind that Georgia Tech offensive line. But I'm watching linebackers scraping down, and you can tell that they have no idea where the football is. Not filling holes, not being in the right position, and Georgia Tech torched us up the middle with Jamal Haynes and Haynes King. Torched us, and that's one of the things that we had to do. We had to stop the run. Haynes King is a quarterback who you want him to beat you down the field, okay? a lot of his completion percentage is so through the roof because a lot of it is quick screens outside where they're getting their receivers the football and they're faster dudes and they're letting them make moves and stuff. Now, Carolina was able to thwart that, but what they were unable to do in any way, shape, or form was stop the run. And like I said, I will beat this until it's into the ground. If you want to be a competent defensive coordinator, you have got to stop the run. If it comes to the point where you got to put 11 guys in the box, and I am being facetious here, you have got to commit to not letting teams beat you on the ground. 371 yards of rushing offense, you're not going to beat very many teams. And once again, players not making plays. You got one job with 44 seconds left. Don't get stinking gashed. And not only did you get gashed, you got gashed on a run play up the middle. That's ridiculous. It's unacceptable. And once again, players not making plays, coaches not managing the clock, coaches not calling good plays, and it's just a systematic failure from the top, man. It's what we're seeing every week. It's what we're seeing every week. Carolina could have and probably should have won that football game. But because of the incompetence, and there's no other way to stinking put it, because of the incompetence at the coaching level and the players being out of position, which is the players, okay? The players being out of position and not making plays, here we are at 3-4, 0-3 going into the bye week. And honestly, one of my takeaways from this game is, and it continues to kind of build upon itself, right? As much as I applaud this football team for fighting, okay, when you look at what is there left to play for, we need to go to a bowl game. Now, I'll be the first one to tell you that I am not in any way, shape, or form, okay with, hey, let's just cut our losses and we're not trying to win any more football games and we'll just get to 2025. No, we got 5 more football games at least. And we need to win 3 of them. 3 of them in order to go bowling, more than stinking likely. So, but this is also what I'm saying. As far as all these seniors are concerned and these graduates that came back, okay, you were going to start receiving less playing time, period. Because I think there is a component here to where whether Mac and his coaching staff are back or not, okay, we got to start looking at what we have in 2025. The simple fact of the matter is, and it's uncomfortable to say, it's not easy, it's not fun, it's not how I envisioned these things to happen, but all of these seniors that came back that were supposed to make this a special season, they've underperformed. They've underperformed as a whole, and whereas some people may say, well, hey, some of these guys are trying to go to the league, some of these guys are trying to do X, Y, and Z. Listen, man, listen, okay? This is about the University of North Carolina, all right? And you've already put on tape what you've put on tape. Most of you have been here for 4 or 5 years. You've put it on tape. The NFL knows what they're going to get, okay, once they come and get you. They know your work ethic. They know your ability to be in the proper position. They know your ability to tackle. They know everything that they could possibly know about you already. You've got 4 and 5 years sometimes of game film already on tape. So that's not a legitimate, valid excuse to me, okay? Carolina needs to try to go bowling, but at the same time, some of these young dudes need to be receiving a lot more repetitions because we're not abandoning 2024. That's not what I'm saying. But you honestly got to start looking at what you got in 2025 because whatever we're doing right now, it's not working. It's not working. And that is from the coaching staff to the players. And it just so happens that most of these players, unfortunately, that are, we're seeing the most problems out of are guys that we shouldn't be seeing the problems out of. It's the upperclassmen. And so we got to start getting these younger guys in here and start thinking about down the road as well. Now, like I said, man, Carolina needs to play the rest of this season with the understanding and the mindset of, hey, we want to go bowling, because not going bowling is that's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. So that is what we're trying to do. We're trying to go bowling, but we also need to find out what we got for 2025, man. So those are my takeaways. Systematic failure from the top down, and I feel like I did a fairly good job, of articulating why it's the coaching staff, the clock management, the play calling, and the players not making plays. It's not just one level that you can point to. This is a multifaceted failure of the program. And Bubba, you got to see it, man. You got to see all those Carolina Blue seatbacks, man, with no butts in the seats. Okay, that's not just because the Carolina Blue-White scrimmage was 45 minutes after, the game. That's not at all what that was, because we saw it against Pitt. There's a lot of people that are done with this coaching staff, and there's a lot of people that are done with this football team. Now, look, I'm here till the bitter end, bro, because that's how I'm built. But not everybody's built like that, and it's time for us to see the writing on the wall as far as this football team is concerned. So do me a favor, man. Comment down in the comment section what you think about my little breakdown, what you think about this football team, what you think about the coaching staff, the players, etc., etc., etc. If you haven't already, man, please do me a favor, like, share, and subscribe to the channel, because if you have anything to do with North Carolina athletics, your boy is going to stink and shoot you 100% straight and give you all kinds of my personal opinions. But no matter what, man, win, lose, or draw, hey, you walk around with your chin up and your chest out, because you're a stinking Tar Heel. Love you guys, and we'll catch you on the next one, baby.